Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analyst desk. Once again, my name is DJ, joined by Mitchell, and we just watched a very fascinating game number 2, in which Glaive Amethyst have pushed themselves to series point to move on to the Excellency Heavy League finals here in the spring season. So, Mitchell, let's talk through that game. A much better early game showing from the likes of Wild Boomers. They were not just run over by a Kled. They were a little bit down on gold, but nothing like game number 1. This time around, though, when the team fights came around, they just got destroyed.
Yeah, definitely. Caitlyn started off the game 2-0 with some kills. Hecarim got a ton of ganks off in the early game, as he should. Well done from Rosero. But while they're getting the ganks off in bot lane, the rest of the lanes, the jungler from Glaive Amethyst is farming up. They're saying, we have the scaling. All right, our bot lane's falling behind. That's fine. We're just going to outplay them, get some gold with farm, and we will still execute better in the mid and late game. Yeah, it was honestly a very close series, though, up until the team fight started happening. Wyo actually making it to soul points.
Yeah, Wyo did get to Soul Point with a very clever steal away by Trinity. Again, that carry member from Wyo Boomers, giving them some hope in the fights. They were able to get a 5v5 around that Soul Drake, but when they did set up for that fight, they got the CC down, but they forgot about the Mikhails, Mitchell. They go in, and it ends up with Clonk getting a pentakill on Gangplank.
Yeah, the first item, Mikhails from Thresh, is something we see every now and then. It's not common at all, but it came up super clutch this time, and Clonk did get to finish off a pentakill. Honestly, crazy to get our pentakill in the playoffs for Excellency. Maybe the first of its kind. We'll find out and let you know. But something I did want to talk about is that, Hecarim really, or Volibear, really needs to go for flanks in these team fights, and I felt that running straight at them directly was honestly not the way to start fights off.
Yeah, not a lot of flanking going on. They could not quite get the pressure that I think you wanted onto that R1 Aphelios pick for Vark that did end up being very effective. We are getting into the draft for game number 3. So, Mitch, Wild Boomers backs up against the wall. We see the Skarner once again taken away from them. The same bands coming through from Glaive. No Skarner, no Skarner for Rosero, no Nautilus for Birdman, no Ashe for Palmgoat. What do you want to see out of them with their backs up against the wall, needing to go 3 straight, the full reverse sweep to move on to the finals and try to turn this series around?
Yeah. Oh, the first pick, Lilia from Glaive, has looked quite good. From Wyo, I want to see, honestly, similar situations. Easy, straightforward, engage in fighting, getting Palmgoat ahead, like something like the J4, right? Straightforward, engage, and fight. Sivir is another classic champion for Palmgoat. Get this Sivir ahead and just try and play team fights better. I think the only thing you need to change from the draft is from game 2, not the draft necessarily, is just the execution, right? Go for flanks, right? Try to farm a bit better. I know, just farm better, lol. But, that's what they got to do.
Yeah, I think you're right there. They just need to team fight better than they did in game number 2. They set themselves up better, but they are looking to set themselves up here. We see the Ezreal come out into the Sivir, and something that can just dash away from the Jarvan ulti. When you do R1 Jarvan, gives a lot of room for the enemy composition to counteract the cage coming down from the Cataclysm. But I do want to say, this is a Wild Boomers comfort draft here. So many times when Rosero's back is against the wall, when he is on Red's side particularly, he goes for this Jarvan. This is what he wants to pick for his team. This is what he did in game 5 against Lotus to great effect.
Oh,
on a comfort pick, and Trinity pulling out the hard carry Akali. You could not be more excited for the first 3 picks here for Wild Boomers draft.
Akali is a very, very good matchup into Yone. Early game, Akali has been brought down quite a bit with the recent changes to her energy and to her base HP. But once you get to level 6 and onwards, Akali can actually just 100-0 the Yone over and over again. We're going to see if Akali goes for TP or Ignite. If you go for Ignite, expect a lot of solo kills. If you go for TP, you can still maybe expect those, but it's going to be much more about the side pressure. The Yone blind pick here is confidence from Glaive's mid laner.
Yeah, it's a little bit of confidence. They do have an AP jungler, and this is something that POS does a lot. Picks up the Yone, hasn't quite picked up the Tristana, but will go for the Fiego as well to counter, or to go with the AP jungler. But like you said, it was a blind pick going into the mid laner, and like backs against the wall for a while. They're gonna put Trinity on something that he thinks he can carry on, and how many times have we seen great players carry on this Akali before? It is all set up for Trinity here. Threshrel taken away by YO Boomers to give themselves a nice support pick here in the R4 slot for Alistair. Cho'Gath and Gnar taken off the table for Papa Francesco, who has been saved here for that R5 counter pick. We saw it not really used to great effect in game number 1. We'll see if YO have something special up their sleeves as the Galio does come out in the support slot. Draft about to be finished up here. Glaive still looking for a top laner.
Yeah, I do like this answer, Galio from Glaive going into the support. It is going to be able to basically like neutralize some of the gank pressure, right? Gonna get off the map. The Ezreal's gonna play blind or weak side bot lane, but the blind Urgot is a very interesting pick. I wonder what YO can counter this with. I'm not sure if Papa has anything in his repertoire to counter an Urgot.
Yeah, Papa is mostly Gnar, Volibear, Kennen have been the answers. He has played Gangplank once, and we have
Kennen
seen...
is interesting here. I would be interested in Kennen, but it's going to be Shen. Okay, hard weak side top lane. Hard weak side top lane.
Yeah, that is a hard weak side top lane, and it does make me nervous. I think if you can get this Shen to level 6, Papa is classically good at coming into team fights at the right times, trying to find flanks. He'll be able to provide the shielding in any sort of wombo combo fight initiated by Rosero. But when you have an Ezreal, you can just leave. You can just leave that Ezreal alone in a lane. He's not going to die to Jarvan. He's not going to die to Sivir. He's just going to dash flash away. No problemo. And you can just focus this Galio and Lilia on getting Clonk ahead. And Clonk has dominated proceedings in these first 2 games on a Kled that was given support and asked to carry, and then on a Gangplank on weak side. Now he's going to be given the resources once again, and they don't have to worry about Vark at all. So this makes me very, very worried for Shen, because Urgot, if he gets ahead, can just shred you. And it will look a lot like the Kled in game number 1 if that happens.
Yeah, Urgot gonna have a great time, in my opinion, in this game. If you're not going to play to shut down the Urgot early, there aren't exactly champions to annihilate the Urgot, right? YO is gonna have a lot of problems dealing with the Yone, the Ezreal, the Lilia, the Galio, right? And then Urgot, he gets to kind of just free farm and free roam and just scale up into these team fights. Like Sivir is not actually, an Urgot destroyer. You do want some like heavy single target damage to kill an Urgot. Urgot does great into these bursty champions like an Akali, like a J4. They just kind of burst you, and if you don't one-shot the Urgot, he just sustains with Conquer. He gets his W off, gets a big ulti off. So it's going to be, I think, up to Akali to make some big early game plays, get really fed, and just start one-shotting people.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right here. And it's going to be very important for Trinity to be that fed member, to pick the right targets to assassinate. Because it's like you said, if you don't kill someone really quickly, this Urgot can just take over the fight. Like if he gets a reset and fears you, like who's going to kill him? Like it's going to take a long time for Palm Goat to get the itemization to do such a thing. And like you said, you still got to worry about the poke that'll come through from Vark, the engage coming in through POS too. So I think the draft has worked out very well here from a composition standpoint for Glaive, which, let's be honest, has sort of been the case throughout the night. The R1 Aphelios we thought was a little bit troll, but they defended it very well. Maybe not troll, but a little bit risky, right? Into a Hecarim in particular. But they defended it super, super well, and it did come off. And it seems like they have had answers and comfort in response to everything YO Boomers have thrown at them. It looks like they have it again. But YO Boomers are on a ton of comfort here. The Jarvan, the Sivir, the carry champion for Trinity. This is all comfort for them. So if they are going to turn it around in this series, I feel like this is the kind of draft that they should have gone for.
Yeah, I think that Wyo actually does have quite a good shot. It's the mid lane matchup that I'm looking at, especially for this game. Akali has a great matchup into Yone. We're going to see some early game jungle pressure thrown to the mid lane. J4 has a lot better early gank prio over Lilia, but does get completely outfarmed. If J4 doesn't get some early ganks, right, he's going to get outfarmed and he's going to get outstatted. So I think if Akali gets fed with a Shen in his back pocket, I think Akali can carry this game. I'm liking Wyo's draft here.
All right, but the first time we've heard Mitch like Wyo's draft. He's been right about the draft so far, so maybe we will see a change in the wins in this game. Wyo Boomers have already shown a ton of resilience in these playoffs, going up 2 games against Lotus, dropping 2 games, but putting it back together for game number 5. They now have their backs up against the wall like they did in that game 5 with a very tall mountain to climb, but it has to start somewhere, and it has to start now in game number 3 if they still want a shot at finals. Can they do it, or will our number 1 team, Glaive Amethyst, sweep Wyo Boomers aside and move on to the Heavy League finals? We will find out with myself and Necrox on the cast here in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere.